You're not just scrolling, you're stuck. You open your phone for a moment, just to check something, just a quick look, and then time disappears. Minutes turn into an hour, sometimes more, and when you finally look up, you can't even remember what you just watched. It feels automatic, like you weren't fully in control, like something else was guiding your attention. And the strangest part is, you knew it was happening. You felt it. That quiet voice in the background saying, "You should stop. You've seen enough. This isn't even interesting anymore." But you didn't stop. You kept going. One more scroll, one more video, one more second. And somehow, that one more never ends. Most people think this is a discipline problem, a lack of willpower, a bad habit. But that's not what's really happening, because if it were that simple, you would just stop. But you don't. And there's a reason for that, a deeper reason, something hidden beneath the surface, something built into the way your brain works. Because your brain was never designed for this world. It was designed for survival, for a completely different environment, a world where information was rare, where stimulation was limited, where novelty was valuable, and every new piece of information could mean something important: food, danger, opportunity. So your brain evolved to pay attention to what's new, to what's different, to what might matter. And that system is still active today. But the world has changed. Now, you carry something in your pocket that your brain was never prepared for. Infinite content, infinite novelty, infinite stimulation. Every time you scroll, you get something new, something unpredictable, something slightly different. And that unpredictability is exactly what your brain is looking for. Because your brain is constantly asking, "What's next?" And every scroll answers that question. But not in a normal way. You're not just feeding your brain information. You're feeding it something much more powerful. A variable reward. Sometimes the next post is boring. Sometimes it's interesting. Sometimes it's exciting. And sometimes it's exactly what you were looking for. And that uncertainty is what makes it addictive. Because your brain doesn't just react to rewards. It reacts to the possibility of rewards, to anticipation, to expectation, to maybe the next one will be better. And that anticipation releases dopamine. But dopamine is not what most people think it is. It's not pleasure. It's not satisfaction. It's desire. It's the feeling of wanting, of searching, of chasing something just out of reach. And that's why you keep scrolling, even when you're not enjoying it anymore. Because you're not chasing enjoyment. You're chasing possibility. The next thing, the next hit, the next moment that might feel worth it. And that creates a loop, a powerful loop. You scroll, you get a small reward. Your brain says, "Do it again." You scroll again, another reward. Or maybe not, but that's the point. Because the unpredictability keeps you hooked. And over time, this loop becomes automatic. You don't think about it. You don't decide to scroll. You just do it. Like a reflex, like a system running in the background. And the more you repeat it, the stronger it becomes. Because your brain learns something simple. This matters. And anything your brain labels as important gets prioritized over everything else. Even things that actually matter more, like your goals, your work, your rest. Because those things don't give you immediate feedback. They don't give you instant reward. They require effort, time, patience. And your brain doesn't like that. It prefers something easier, something faster, something that gives you something now. And that's exactly what scrolling provides. Instant stimulation, instant novelty, instant reward, with almost no effort. And that combination is incredibly powerful. But there's another layer, something deeper. Because scrolling is not just about dopamine, it's also about escape. Every time you reach for your phone, you're not just looking for content, you're looking for relief. Relief from boredom, from stress, from discomfort, from your own thoughts. Because silence can feel uncomfortable. Stillness can feel uncomfortable. Being alone with your mind can feel overwhelming. So your brain looks for a way out, something to fill the space, something to distract you. And scrolling becomes the easiest option. It's always there, always available, always ready. And it works instantly. You don't have to think, you don't have to try, you just swipe. And the discomfort disappears, at least for a moment. And that's what makes it dangerous, because your brain starts to associate scrolling with relief, with comfort, with escape. So every time you feel even a small discomfort, your mind suggests, check your phone. Scroll a little, just one more. And most of the time, you follow that impulse. Not because you want to, but because it feels natural. It feels automatic. Because the loop is already there. And the more you follow it, the stronger it becomes. Until eventually, you're no longer choosing, you're just reacting. But here's where it gets even deeper. Because scrolling doesn't just take your time, it changes your mind in ways that are subtle but powerful. Every time you scroll, you're training your brain. You're teaching it how to process the world, how to focus, or more accurately, how not to focus. Because scrolling fragments your attention. Short bursts of content, constant switching, endless novelty. Your brain never settles. It never stays in one place. It just jumps from one thing to the next, again and again and again. And over time, this becomes your default. Your brain starts to expect constant stimulation, constant change, constant input. So when you try to do something different, something slow, something meaningful, something that requires focus, it feels wrong, it feels difficult, it feels almost painful. Because your brain has adapted, not intentionally, but gradually, through repetition, through habit, through thousands of small moments where you chose to scroll instead of stay. And now, staying feels harder, focusing feels heavier, thinking deeply feels slower, because your brain is used to something else, something faster, something easier, something more stimulating. And that creates a hidden consequence. You begin to lose tolerance for boredom, for silence, for stillness. But those are the exact conditions where deeper thinking happens, where creativity happens, where clarity happens. Without them, your mind stays on the surface, always active, but rarely deep, always stimulated, but rarely satisfied. And that leads to something else, something even more subtle. Scrolling creates an illusion of activity, an illusion of engagement, an illusion that you're doing something, because your brain is processing information, images, words, ideas. But none of it stays. None of it builds into something meaningful. It's just consumption, passive, endless. And that creates a strange feeling, a quiet emptiness. Because you spent time, but gained nothing, and your brain feels it, even if you don't consciously notice it. There's a subtle dissatisfaction, a sense that something is missing. But instead of stopping, you scroll more, trying to fill that gap, trying to find something that makes it feel worth it. But it rarely comes, because the system is not designed to satisfy you. It's designed to keep you engaged, to keep you scrolling, to keep you coming back. And it does that by giving you just enough to keep you going, but never enough to make you stop. And that's what makes it so powerful. Because you're not just fighting a habit, you're inside a system designed to capture your attention, to hold it, to use it. But here's the most important part, the part that changes everything. You are not broken. Your brain is not weak. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do. Seek novelty, avoid discomfort, chase reward. The problem is the environment. An environment that amplifies those instincts, that feeds them endlessly, that turns them into loops. So the solution is not just discipline, it's awareness. Because the moment you truly see what's happening, the loop starts to lose its power. Not completely, but enough. Enough for you to pause. Enough for you to notice the impulse. That moment when your hand reaches for your phone without thinking. That moment when you feel the urge to scroll, even when you don't want to. And instead of acting on it, you observe it. You recognize it. You understand it. And in that small space between impulse and action, you regain control. Not by force, but by awareness. Because awareness creates choice, and choice breaks loops. You don't have to quit scrolling completely. You don't have to remove it from your life. But you do need to see it clearly for what it is. A system, a pattern, a loop. And once you see it, you can change your relationship with it. You can scroll intentionally instead of automatically. You can stop when you decide instead of when the content ends. You can choose instead of react. And that shift changes everything. Because the real problem was never scrolling. It was losing control without realizing it. And once you see that, you start to take it back. One moment at a time, one decision at a time. Until eventually, you're no longer trapped. You're just aware. And that awareness is what sets you free.